Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and the customers that we serve. Nothing can ever make up for that. Throughout this process, we have sought accountability and believe the evidence brought to light through this case underscores the consequences of spreading lies. Truthful reporting in the media is essential to our democracy.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in New York. It was an historic moment. It was an historic settlement in a defamation case. Fox News agreeing to pay Dominion Voting Systems nearly $800 million over the network's repeated lies that the company rigged the 2020 election through their machines in Joe Biden's favor. It was a moment that proved to all of us that lies do have consequences, sometimes. Fox News is not free yet. A similar lawsuit brought by election systems company Smartmatic is also expected to go to trial in 2025. And another lawsuit filed just yesterday puts Fox's lies right back in the spotlight. New York Times reports this, quote, New York City's pension funds sued the Fox Corporation and its board on Tuesday, accusing the company of neglecting its duty to shareholders by opening itself up to defamation lawsuits from the persistent broadcasting of falsehoods about the 2020 presidential election. The funds held about 857,000 shares valued at $28 million as of July 31st. Brad Lander, the city's comptroller who oversees the funds, which also hold shares of Comcast, our parent company, told the Times this, quote, we are shareholders at a company that unfortunately has a long-standing practice of allowing conspiracy theories that its executives and its board know are false to be repeated over and over and over again, despite the very clear and present risk of defamation lawsuits eroding shareholder value. And there has been no effort to make governance reforms. Now, according to the complaint, Axios reports this. Fox News promoted, quote, political narratives without regard for whether the underlying factual assertions were true or based on sources worthy of credit. It accuses the company of choosing to, quote, profit from defamation. The state of Oregon's Public Employees Retirement Fund is joining the New York City funds in this lawsuit. And the New York Times notes that a Fox spokesperson declined to comment on the case. The Dominion defamation lawsuit was explosive and radioactive for Fox News. We learned that the anchors knowingly lied to their viewers, that even the executives knew that these claims about the election had no merit. And the network was forced to fire its primetime anchor after discovery revealed troubling text messages. So only time will tell what will happen as Fox faces another legal battle. It's where we start the hour with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Professor of Law at the University of Utah and First Amendment scholar Ronelle Anderson-Jones is back with us. Plus, New York Times Washington correspondent Mike Schmidt is here. And with me on set, New York Times reporter Jeremy Peters. Let me start with you, Jeremy, on the reporting, on the story. Is this a typical investment for the city to have?
Well, these big pension funds invest in all sorts of corporations, so that in and of itself is not unusual. What's unusual is the totality of the legal action pending against Fox News right now. You not only have this, you have two other shareholder lawsuits, you have another defamation suit, which we've talked about before, that a guy by the name of Ray Epps has filed because Tucker Carlson basically it smeared him as being the instigator of the January 6th attacks, which was completely false. You have the Smartmatic case and the recently settled Dominion lawsuit. So it's really unprecedented to see this type of legal action against a single company like this, especially one as powerful with as much of like a place in the political culture that Fox News has. And these will drag on for years. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the Smartmatic case. I wouldn't be surprised if Fox attempts some sort of settlement. It's a different kind of case than the Dominion one was because there's not quite as much discovery, but the depositions are moving forward. I'm told that those depositions will happen shortly in the Smartmatic case. The Ray Epps case is no joke because the evidence against Tucker Carlson is so overwhelming. Because, I mean, Tucker Carlson essentially ruined this man's life, saying that he was a secret agent, a double agent who was there instigating the January 6th attacks to embarrass Trump supporters, which couldn't be farther from the truth because, of course, Ray Epps was a Trump supporter. He voted for Trump, but he learned, how difficult it can be to be on the other side of that propaganda machine.
And I think, Ronell, what these lawsuits reveal to outsiders is just how what we learned from folks like you and from Mike and Jeremy's great reporting is that once the known falsity was established, once the judge said they knew these things were false and they broadcast them anyway, just how legally exposed a company is. And I wonder if you take sort of all of our education about the power of that ruling and that finding, where do you place the legal exposure for Fox from the Citi Pension Fund?
Yeah, I think it's not a surprise that this sort of suit would trickle out in the aftermath of that massive $750 million payout to Dominion, both because it gives these shareholders some dollars and cents numbers to point to of the kind of cost that they incurred financially because of Fox's choices, but also because that suit produced this trove of evidence about who knew what when within the Fox Corporation. And the argument here is that because there is all of this evidence now that some of these folks at the very top of the corporation were privately disparaging and dismissing Donald Trump's false claims about the 2020 election at the very time that the network was broadcasting those lies and leaning into conspiracy theory guests who were perpetuating those lies. It tees up these additional claims from shareholders about why those folks who were in the know didn't institute systems to protect the company from the kind of liability that it ultimately faced. The law is really clear that there is a duty on the part of these folks on the board of directors towards shareholders not to erode shareholder value or consciously disregard these known risks. And one of the things that we're going to see here is a really interesting interplay between corporate governance law and disinformation. A lot of really interesting questions on tap. Can shareholders argue that truth and accuracy and avoiding defamation are core values, sort of mission critical at any company that purports to be a news outlet? And even in the face of some evidence that disinformation might have been a more profitable strategy for some segments of the audience. And if board of director members at these companies are aware of internal plans to goose audience, to bring back audience share in ways that are very likely to defame innocent parties, will we treat that the same way that we treat them ignoring red flags about other more obvious internal problems with illegal conduct? There is a sort of rich body of corporate law to be developed here, and it overlaps with these concerns about disinformation in really interesting and important ways.